Hello and welcome to my podcast. Do me a favor, subscribe to the John Keim Report wherever you get your podcast. If you're watching on YouTube, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. You can find us there as part of Ampire Media, Ampire. Always much appreciated when you tune in. And don't forget, you can read my work on ESPN.com. And you Gold members will be doing the private Zoom Monday night. I will be doing another podcast on Saturday. I did not think I'd be doing this one, but Terry McLaurin has requested a trade, so I want to talk to you for a few minutes about it, just to discuss what's going on. And don't forget, on Friday, they're going to vote for the stadium bill. Should know that hopefully around 1 o'clock-ish. So stay tuned for that. We'll not be doing a podcast after that, but you should know what's taking place. There will be multiple stories on ESPN.com, especially if it passes. Anyways, the McLaurin situation. You shouldn't be surprised at that. This is a natural byproduct of a frustrated player in a frustrating situation. They are not close at all. There's been zero momentum, and this is a way to help jumpstart the negotiations. Players ask for trades all the time. How often do they get traded? Deebo Samuel got traded, but it took a second request from the Niners. His first one 3 years ago, they ignored it because it was coming up his pretty damn good season in 2021, and they weren't done with him. They were done with him in January. They agreed to trade him, and they came here. So keep that in mind. That's number one. I would be shocked if Washington traded Terry McLaurin. All throughout this process, all I've heard is we're not trading. We're not going to trade McLaurin. Like it's not even like it's something they wouldn't even seem to entertain. So just understand that. Like that has been consistent. In fact, I talked to somebody, I think it was yesterday, who was like, we're not trading Terry McLaurin. And this is before this request came out. So they've been very clear on that. They want to keep him. Just because there are differences in opinions on the money, I'm not sitting here saying which side is right and which side is wrong here. But just because there are differences doesn't mean they want him. They just see both sides see the value different. And that's why we have been at this impasse. It's why I talked about this a long time ago, that the age 30 marker was a major deal. And it's why this would always be a tricky negotiation. And it has been for that reason, because I don't know how you get past that. One side believes that at the age 30, and the league, you look at the history of receivers getting paid at this age, the league agrees that at 30, it's harder to pay receivers big money and that the production typically starts to wane. Meanwhile, you have McLaurin's side that they want money, that they see what DK Metcalf got, that he's the same draft class, similar production. Why not? Well, Metcalf is 2 years younger. That matters, and that has mattered in this situation the entire time. Whoever's right or wrong, it still matters. Whether people like it or not, it matters because that's what you hear from anybody else. But like I said, I would be shocked if Washington traded him. Why would they? Because they want to compete for a Super Bowl title, right? That's the goal here. You're not doing that without McLaurin unless you get some sort of great player back at the same position. And I don't see that happening. The other thing to keep in mind, again, there's no logical replacement on the roster for what McLaurin does. That's very true. Like they're not going to have that same kind of passing attack without McLaurin on the roster, for sure. Now, the other part of this is if you trade them, like let's say there was open to it, this team was open to trade. What team is going to then pay? Let's say it takes, I mean, if you're Washington and you don't want to trade them, what's it going to take to trade them? An awful lot, an awful lot. So then a team would have to trade something valuable in terms of draft picks, players, whatever, and then pay McLaurin more than $30 million per year. That's a big sticking point in this situation. Like I haven't talked to every team, and I'm not going to talk to every team, so I can't say what every team would do. But I do think, based on conversations to this point, that would be an awfully difficult scenario to envision somebody doing. Now, if Washington came out and said, we're done with them, we're trading them, and you can get them for pennies on the dollar and then pay them, sure, I could see a team paying them a little bit more, but a hefty price plus a lot of money, that's going to be a tough combo, I think, for any team to do that. So, and again, I go back to for the Washington, they're looking at this as not what he can do at age 30. He's under contract this year. It's what will he do at 31, 32, 33. And history shows the receivers start to go down at this age. So that's what they're looking at. And yes, for McLaurin can be a case by case basis, but this is like if you're doing actuary tables, right? You're doing it based on data. And this is a heavily analytics group. So again, like it or not, that's what it is. The other thing you need to know is this ownership group is in lockstep with what the front office is doing. Yes, I've seen some people, if Dan Snyder here, they would have had him signed. Perhaps so, because that's what happened last time. Like he told people in the organization, I need a win. Go sign him. Here's the other thing. Yes, maybe he would be signed. They wouldn't be coming off a 12-5 season. They would not have what they have now, not remotely close. So keep that in mind when people who say that, because that's kind of a key point here. But again, the team is in unison with how they believe this is handling with the price tag. Josh Harris is a guy that I've told you a number of times wants information, wants a lot of information. So if you're going to go to him and say, tell him like, hey, we're going to offer McLaurin this, he's going to say, well, what about these comps? What comps do you have? Let me see the comps. Why not? Why not pay what this guy's getting? Why not this? Whatever. You're gonna have to answer all those questions before you can even then go do this. Because if you can't, he's gonna make you go back and find those answers so you can provide it to him. And then once you do, now you have this is how you build a consensus in an organization. So he's not going to step out of this and then say like, Adam, get it done at whatever cost. That's just not going to happen. It's also not good business. It was not good business before. And yes, it would have, he got McLaurin signed the one time. He also forced them to trade high draft picks for Carson Wentz because he got involved there too. So please let's not go down that road. Um, for McLaurin, again, it's always been about seeing yourself for the value that you believe you have, or that you're very resolute in your belief of your value. And that's a couple of things that have made Terry a very good player. He's stubborn in terms of like his belief in himself, and that's a good thing. He has a solid value of of himself, and that's there you go. So that's why he believes he should make what he does. So a couple ways this can play out. You can get an extension at some point in a few weeks, or you play it out on the contract you are. He is under contract. Then you can at the end of the season, they can either tag him or he walks. Then if he walks, you're going to see your market value, whatever it is. If they tagged him, now I had Joe Corey on the show, and there's a lot of it that's going to depend on some incentives that get met or reached. Let's say, for example, he makes the Pro Bowl, then he gets more money. Then if in that scenario, he could, according to Joe Corey, it would be 30.4 million on the tag. They're not willing right now, certainly not willing to go to 30 million at this point. I don't know that they would do it on the tag for the 1 year. So, in that scenario, you either have to come up with another extension somehow, or let him test the market to see what it really is, and then either match it or don't, if they have that ability. So that's one way. It's not ideal to do that. Both sides want to. This is the thing. Like these sides want to be in business together. Like this team wants to keep keep Terry McLaurin, and just because maybe you think that he should be paid a certain amount doesn't mean that they would agree with that, because they have mountains of information telling them what they feel he should be paid. And then, for McLaurin, again, like he's got a strong belief in what he wants to do. Um, I just, I, I think the other thing is too, yes, could other people in the locker room be watching? Yes, of course. But then they're going to base their thoughts on this based on how Harris and Adam Peters have treated them as well, and treated them during their contract negotiations. So yes, while they'll be paying attention to it and they want McLaurin in there for sure, it always comes back to your own personal dealings as well. So the risk for both sides, you could, if you're Washington, do you risk losing him after this year? Because again, he's under contract. And if he doesn't come in and play, then you miss game checks. And he's already lost a few $100,000 in the spring and the summer, which I'm sure he's got a lot of money. But the game checks, that's where that's where the big numbers come. So does he really want to lose that? And the other thing is like, what if the injury factor? If you get hurt and you sign this extension, you're covered. You you play it out, you're going to go to the market with, going to be 31 coming off an injury. That's the risk, but that's what, that's the gamble on any player's part, right? That's how teams look at it too. It's how players, that's why some players sign certain deals, right? Because hey, you want the security. So anyway, I don't know, folks. This was not a huge surprise. I was a little surprised it happened today, but then again, when you stop to think about it, there's been no movement. So because of that, then you say, okay, well, this makes sense. This is the next logical step in this sequence toward, these sides working out a deal at some point. I just don't know when that will be because I think this has always been a tough one because of the age. I don't know how, both sides are going to have to give here because otherwise it's just not going to get done. And the question is, where's the meeting point? I just don't think this team gets to 30 million. And if Terry wants to be paid more than that, I think it's going to be difficult. So again, then at that point, you either play it out and get tagged or play it out and hit the market. And here's the other thing too. Like McLaurin should be a Washington Redskins / commander for life. Like that's what he's meant here. We know that, right? Everybody knows what he's meant here. But this is the business side of it, and the business sometimes is not pretty for anybody involved. So, and the other thing too to keep in mind, when Adam Peters was in San Francisco, he dealt with this a couple times, and these deals got done late in training camp or right before the season. And I think that I could see him going up down the road, but I just don't. This is just a personal thought, not based on reporting, um, because you're going to have to get it done. But to what point, and will it be enough to satisfy McLaurin? That's the thing we're going to have to watch. But again, I just don't see them trading him because it just doesn't make any sense for them to do so. And I'm not sure that another team would be able to pony up the draft capital or player capital and then pay McLaurin what he would want to make it worthwhile as well. So anyways, folks, this is where we are. I'll be back on Saturday. Thanks for tuning in. I'll talk to you next time.